Hello. If you're listening to this, this is the Scarlet and Violet DLC post-game show. That means spoilers. Spoilers all over the damn place. If you still need to go play the main game or the DLC, you don't want to listen to this yet. You gotta go play this. Don't worry, it'll still be here for you later. But, everything there is to know about this game is just going to be talked about from this point on. So, here we go.
Fine Time is about to blow your mind.
Hello, PokéPals. Yes, it's PokéPals. We're not inviting the party people, only the PokéPals, because it's me, Steve, with the other PokéPals, Vin and Ampy. Yep, I dragged them back in from playing Pokemon Go all day. How's it going out there, you guys?
We could be catching Blacephalon outside, but, we're here. Just kidding.
Yeah, we got to get on those Ultra Beasts, man. What are we doing this thing? Let's get out of here.
What do you mean? What were you doing in 2016 when there was nothing else going on? Didn't you get your Ultra Beasts then? You need to get them in your cell phone, telephone, too?
Well, if you remember, that was the one game I skipped, so I guess that makes you less of a fan. I'm making up for it 8 years later.
Fine. So yeah, this is the Pokemon Scarlet Violet post-game show, basically the DLC. We already talked about this game. Listen to that episode if you haven't already. So this is the second time we got DLC instead of third version, Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Crystal. They said none of that. Here's Pokemon DLC, and it's going to come in Teal Mask and Indigo Disk and on a schedule. And wouldn't you know it, they did that. I don't know, guys. Some call it cynical, and I'm sure it's ruined the plans of, all 20 people. They're like, I only ever buy third version. But I still feel like this is way better. I feel like it keeps everybody on the same page instead of having to hide a few superficial changes and, games we already played until we get to the good stuff.
The funny thing is, cracking that Ultra Sun and Moon joke is that a lot of people did say that game was like 90% the same. And Ampy and I had this conversation where like they added some cool new Pokemon, like our favorite Electric Cat Zeraora, but you're screwed if you didn't buy the game like over again, right? So that was kind of a sticking point. So I feel like it's almost like it's a good idea to keep our 100+ hours of progress, but like again, like convincing people to play like Pokemon Platinum and stuff like that off such like relatively minor changes, it was pretty tough. So I'll take this approach.
Yeah, still pissed I didn't get my wonderful little electric kitty from that third version here. But funny thing is, I've actually never done any of the third version games in the past. No Yellow, no Crystal, Platinum, any of that stuff. But I've done both the DLC packs for both these past two runs. Sword and Shield, and now Scarlet Violet. I mean, I guess you could argue some folks might want the later complete version when it's all there, but I'm in agreement. Carrying over your main story progress is much better overall. And they've even got nice little ways to balance it out if you do get into it late. Like some of the levels get boosted up if you've already beaten the game. So if you are a little late to the party on it, you can still participate from the get-go instead of having to wait for the very end. At least for one of the packs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just get into it? We paid extra for our DLC. What do we get? We get a phone call?
Yeah, you boot this Teal Mask DLC, and Jock, one of the teachers from school, he calls you up saying that there's going to be a school trip this time every year, and that we're one of the lucky ones who was invited, but...
What are the odds?
Yeah, what are the odds we were chosen? And shouldn't we have been cognizant of this trip, like, ahead of time? It feels a little weird that we weren't aware of it. It's like, oh, by the way. But
maybe
that's
we want to give a
the
permission slip to our mom. I don't know.
Apparently, we skipped that step, apparently, so...
Yep, just surprise trip out of nowhere. Hope you're ready, because we're leaving in like 5 minutes. You did pack your bags, right?
You get on a plane, right? I think you get on a plane to this other completely separate, like what is it, I don't even know if it's an island. But it's like a separate like land of Kitakami, the land of the Teal Mask.
Yeah, and it's moderated by the Blueberry Academy, who's run by Miss Breyer, who is totally not Pokemon Miss Frizzle, and yeah, but normal field trip with Miss Frizz, no way, and she's not suspicious in any way, you guys. We also get to meet not Nemona rival Carmine and her brother Kieran, who is not trying too hard. Just a little weird that we don't bring anyone else with us. You're the only one that gets to go.
Yeah, so the weirdest part is that you go on this field trip without anybody you know from the main story, and you just ditch them, and it's like, okay, that's kind of strange. But, that said, though, I think, like, Carmine and Kieran are really cool new characters. Kieran's just such a lovable doof, even if, like, his character arc is pretty ham-fisted. And, like, I feel like we've seen this sort of archetype in anime, like, a gazillion times, but, I mean, he's still, like, a cool character, I think.
Oh, Kieran, we have seen this arc a bunch of places, but it feels like they haven't really explored it too much here in the Pokemon games. Like, I've actually been waiting for them to do a rival like this that starts out all just, friendly goober, then it's like, this guy's got some darkness in him. He gets downright resentful there. I feel like they started to hint at that a little bit with Hop, but he's just too upbeat to really stay down. But yeah, Kieran, oh boy, he goes some places. It gets kind of compressed due to it being DLC and not like a whole story thing, but it is funny to see them explore that a bit. You're basically just rubbing your PC status in his NPC face the way everything goes your way. Get this fancy trip. Other things keep going your way. And it's just not fair, man.
No, that's still better than since Irvin didn't play, they basically resolve Hops's rival story with diabetes. Like, man, I love me some malasadas. I could just eat these things all day and get myself into the sugary coma. Yep, that's much better.
It was pretty compellingly written, just because I think there was some actual, like, shenanigans to cause Kieran to be jealous. He, like, overhears you talking about trying to figure out solutions. He's like, why not me, man? Like, so he, like, gets the wrong idea and all this stuff, right? So, I mean, like, those are actual genuine emotions that a kid would have. So, I mean, like, I kind of got into that from that angle. It seems somewhat relatable that way.
I mean, who among us hasn't been, trying to hide the wild pet and then trying to keep the younger sibling out of it? I'm like, wait a minute, this is getting weird. Speaking of new pets, we get a bunch of new Pokemon here, and I guess I'm the big chump for this because I had a lot of fun with these guys. Ogerpod's a fun mascot with a stick, and Okie Doggy. How are you pronouncing that? I've never heard this spoken until right now.
Okie Doggy.
Okie Doggy
gave me a fourth dog to play with. And then I got more of my favorites from Galar to play with too. Poltergeist and Sinistra, more T's. And then Applin got in on this too with Diplin and Hydrapple. And, that really fucked me up because I don't look up spoilers that much or ever really if I can avoid it. So I didn't know Diplin was going to evolve. So here I am with my level 100 Diplin. Like, I guess I got to make another one of these.
Yeah, I think during some promotional materials we were aware of of an evolution, but they didn't really say the method because, of course, these methods get pretty obtuse, right? So I mean, I certainly didn't have access to that during my run. But yeah, I think the new legendary poison trio is pretty cool. They all look like goofballs, and it's not every day you get to see the poison type represented that way. So they kind of diverge from the norm, right? It's not just oops all psychics or whatever. But Ogerpon in general is just such a fantastic design. Yeah, and then the tea, they really play off of existing tropes pretty well, but with their own flavor.
Yeah, the one thing it's tea.
Yeah, because it's see what I did there. Yeah, indeed. The one thing I was a little more ambivalent about was Blood Moon Ursaluna, and Ursaluna originally is from Pokemon Legends Arceus, but so this is a fancy new form they just kind of pull out of nowhere. This bear that supposedly evolves was isolated from society and became its own form after all these years, and nobody knew about it. And I'm just this series does crazy stuff. I'm wait a second, it just feels like it's kind of coming from thin air or something. It's kind of weird, man.
Yeah, Blood Moon Ursaluna did feel a little out of left field, but I guess it does kind of complete the whole link with Perrin being there introduced into it and Perrin being connected to Legends Arceus and all that. But it also is kind of weird that this is sort of like a pseudo-legendary status thing. There's just the one here. It's not something you can ever get more of.
You can't evolve anybody to get another one, yeah.
I'm going to be the voice of dissent and say I liked Blood Moon Ursaluna just because I don't know how much you guys may or may not have played Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2, but he's got some weird parallels with this unkillable bear in that game where he just appears out of nowhere and he's got these scars on his face and you can't kill him. And he's kind of like that, except you can make him join you and have him fire moon lasers. 10 out of 10.
What? Okay, I've watched a fair share of the original and 2, and I haven't seen any, like, bears. I guess I watched the wrong streams, I guess.
I mean, you're really selling this well here, because it's pretty cool that you can pull that off.
I think I'd like Red Dead 2 a bit more if I could ride the bear and have it fire lasers, but, I can't have it all.
Is this the Wild West anymore? What is this?
Oh, yeah. And aside from that, we've already went over, but the trio is a good bunch of mischief makers, and they really went all out with Ogerpon, just having all these fun different masks, all these different appearances, and making like a full-on character for this whole thing, and not just, the legendary you capture at the end of it all.
Yeah, they have this whole myth that people sort of like misconstrue or like whatever. So that buildup was interesting, and the whole mask motif, the fact that Ogerpon can swap out masks, it leads to some like cool merch. I think I've already seen like all these different like TCG like sets with like different different Ogerpon or whatever. It's like, well, of course they would, right?
Oh god, is that going to be fodder for that app they have coming soon with the Pokemon cards? Am I just going to keep finding Ogerpon masks instead of cards I actually want?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, you'll like it too.
Yeah, you'll like that rock mask, you bitch.
There's a thing we might be a little more ambivalent about that maybe we didn't like as much, and that's the map design, which is to say, like, I think, like, looking back on this DLC, the only thing that really jumps at me visually is, like, the crystal pool, and otherwise just oops, all, like, trees everywhere. Like, not too many landmarks really stick out in my head. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I struggle to remember much visually aside from the pool.
But there's that guy's hut at the bottom right corner of the map that has the apples.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They sell him there and not at the festival for whatever. The ongoing forever festival that never ends.
Forever festival. The festival looks cool, I guess. Okay, that's like another thing. But other than that, it's like...
And it makes shit chug like a motherfucker.
It does make it chug. The pool especially, oh god, Jesus Christ, the frame rate.
Yeah, it gets pretty bad there. I mean, some parts of the mountain climb are kind of neat, having it at the center, but yeah, that doesn't feel like there's quite as much variation as some of the other places we already saw in the main game. So, I mean, it's a neat new area, but it doesn't stand out the way maybe some of the past DLC things did in previous games.
So it's fair to say that the game didn't really run any better in DLC time, even though we paid extra for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, no, and which confounds me because it's a smaller area than like the main Paldea like area, so I don't know why it runs like this. Especially like again, like that pool is something, man. That stutteries is so stuttery. But at least we didn't crash. I didn't crash the whole time, so at least there's that.
I didn't crash either, but at the same time, if Andre was a PokéPal, I could absolutely hear him sitting here saying, guys, could you imagine the crystal pool running on a real system in 4K at 120 FPS? Oh, baby.
Yeah, that sounds like something that maybe he would say, question mark.
What? Look at that. Look at that drip in the crystal pool.
Oh, my God. Yeah. 4K at 120? I don't think he expects that.
It's a little bit beyond anything. Yeah, I was hoping against hope things might get a little bit better, but pretty much just same as it ever was. Just anything bodies of water. Crystal Pool's bad enough, but even just that little road leading into town feels like it's just chugs like you wouldn't believe. It's kind of a disappointment, but, again, no crashes on my end, so I'll take my blessings where I can get them.
How'd you guys play this game? Because I guess I was a bit dull. I just slotted in new guys as I found them, and while leveling up other ones, I was in the middle of leveling up already. Because I really, really wasn't chomping at the bit to raise a level 68 Bellsprout. Oh man, those guys at the Sprout Tower, they're going to be so thrilled when I come back with this thing.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly valid way of playing it, which is, I think that's what I did for like the Sword and Shield DLC, but for this time around, pro MLG streamer Lucentai, I'm not actually pro or MLG, but I wanted to challenge myself on stream, so I had the bright idea of only using Pokemon that debuted in this DLC. So the expectation was to use only new Pokemon, but I couldn't really find them or figure out how to evolve them, so I abandoned that idea. So like, I had done like a gazillion raids by this point, so like whatever I found, I could just like throw candy at them to raise just cram candy down their throat to raise them to be on the same levels as like rival trainers or like whatever. So it wasn't like too big of a deal. So ultimately I actually like settled on this theme. For the very first time, I actually settled on a bug team. I never do this, but I found a cutie fly at the beginning and then added Vikavolt, the electric bug, Yanmega, Liavani, Ariados, Ribombi, and Illumis. Yeah, so I had like Oops All Bugs, which was a bit of a liability later on, but it was fun.
Yeah, I don't think it was Oops All Bugs. I think Illumis was dragging you down.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I pretty much just split the difference a bit. I got a handful of the new Kitakami Pokemon, but I also brought in a couple. I brought in actually that event Hisui and Zoro arc they had. Just a happy hour all day, get that extra money. But also I did bring in an Iron Valiant, just mainly for false swiping, but also like if things got really out of hand, I've got my big emergency button to just pull me out of the fire. That didn't end up happening, but I got a few new folks in there. I got a Ninetales, a Mamoswine, and I got a Diplin of my own. And it was fun trying those out for a change rather than just bringing all the pokes I had in the main game.
It's a good mix. Yeah.
Good move on you bringing in Happy Hour, because there's that one lady in town that she's the one game in town, and they give you the option to use your campus points. I forget what they actually are right now. But then when you actually do that, she's like, what the hell are those? Just give me money.
Do you like once you beat the DLC, they like add an actual like a credit card / like point machine? They add it like at the end of it. It's like our technology's evolved. We're catching up. Thought that was great.
Yeah, that was fun that they slipped that in. Don't know what any of these old cryptic currency things are that they were talking about.
League points? We don't do any of that over here.
I know what cryptocurrency is. I know what cryptocurrency is. It's all the money I hide in my crypt. let me go wake up the dead for some life savings.
Oh God, simpler times.
Fine time.
But the simpler times are coming to an end, because a few months after that, we go to the far more complicated, feature-rich Indigo Disk.
Oh God, Indigo Disk! What a good experience! Holy smokes!
And was this another phone call? Because I feel like that was almost like, man, not Nimona and Kieran liked you so much. We're gonna give you a pass to the real Blueberry Academy. Welcome to the terrarium.
I'm pretty sure it's the same sort of deal. It's just like oops, all like foreign exchange time, I guess. It's like, okay, I guess. I don't know what's with this futuristic looking like underwater thingamabobber, but it's cool, I guess.
Also, your passport says you're technically in Unova now, so turn on all the Unova music. Let's go.
Oh God, the teases.
They went all out for this.
So many teases. Do you have any favorite teases?
We're going to school with Grimsley's daughter. At least that's who I think it is, because she's like, my parents is in the Elite Four. I'm like, well...
It's a fair assumption. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Drayton, who's definitely going to Drayton's family reunion in Unova.
Not a coincidence.
Then there's Archeludon. I can't pronounce Archeludon, who's really here just to show off how he looks an awful lot like the Sky Arrow Bridge.
No influence from New York whatsoever.
So with all these teases, it sure makes a lot of fucking sense that we're going to Kalos sometime next year, right, guys?
Yeah. God, obviously. Jesus Christ. You know, we were chatting off pod, but we were like, are they using like this DLC pack as like a substitute for like a Unova remake? Because that would be kind of like dicked, man.
It's starting to shape up that way, given just how intense they said, hey, we're in Unova. You've heard of Unova before, right? Well, you're going to hear a lot of it coming up ahead.
Let's go to Pokemon X and Y next time.
I feel like they have to know that people want to go back.
Yeah, they do.
They have to see it. And I'm of the semi-optimistic perspective that they're going to save all this for the Super Switch because the Switch cannot handle real Unovan remakes.
New York with those skyscrapers just cause the Switch to just like frame chug. Don't make those windows have too much internal lighting, or else the Switch is gonna collapse.
That's why we have to literally build Paris and Z-A when it comes out. It can't handle full ass Paris. You nuts?
Oh god. Oh, the technicalities. And speaking of the technicalities, this whole terrarium environment is wildin', man. It's like so again, it's underwater, but there's like 4 different biomes underneath the whole thing. So like they have this artificial like biome set up, man. And it's just, I thought this was really cool of an idea. They haven't really done anything like this before, because most things are above the water, but it's kind of fascinating. If you look up, there's a giant like dome. It's unique, man.
I was a little disappointed with it because I could have sworn, like, okay, they're going to make something wrong with this thing. Like, everything's going to shut down and all the Pokemon are going to try to escape, and there's going to be a giant whale lord that slams into the side. And where this is going to be the closest thing we get to survival horror in Pokemon. No, they didn't do any of that.
If there's a whaler that collides with it, the frame rate would like chug,
man. We have to leave the terrarium to find a Terrapagos. I mean...
That is true. Oh, yeah, that's just a bit of a cop-out. Yeah, it is true. But I guess I like the premise maybe a little more than the execution. But even so, like, there's some pieces of this environment that are still, like, cool to look at. I mean, personally, I liked it, but...
It is a pretty cool setup overall with the different areas. They've all got little spaces to explore. It does feel a little bit like a wasted opportunity when you're showing off this ominous glowing orb in the ceiling, and then it's just, yeah, don't worry about it. Everything's under control. It's all good.
You know what's funny? I don't know if you guys tried this. You can actually fly up there and get items from the orb up top, though. It's actually they give you some pretty baller things. I think there might be like a golden bottle cap for raising stats and stuff like that. I didn't think to try this till like I read it online, but I'm like, well, they actually put stuff up. You have to fly like super far, but there's actually like an incentive for it.
Yeah, it takes like a minute to even get up there, but yeah, they reward your curiosity. So it's a nice touch.
Speaking of curiosities, did you like the way this is split up? Because it's like a 4-way pizza. I'm just like, why is this like it seems maybe a little too like basic in terms of just the way it's split across 4 biomes. But I mean, I thought that was like okay-ish, I guess. But
I don't know. But even if you had like a secret 5th thing underground, what? But that would have been something. But this is functional. It's fine. You can see what they wanted to do, and you can introduce the starter Pokemon. And I like how everyone's pretending like this is the first time we're finding him in the wild, even though there's been a number of times where we can before this. But
selective memory.
No, we definitely didn't find Oshawott and friends in Alola. We didn't play those, so it didn't happen.
Did you have any hot takes on the 4-way pizza, Ampy?
I mean, they try to vary it up a little bit, and they do actually have that sort of underground system between things for a little more varying it up. But yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of, it's got the whole cyber cube thing separating things. It's kind of an odd motif to go with.
They're so like poignant. They like stand out so much from the naturalistic parts of the environment. They're so bright, man. Why are they so bright?
We gotta separate. You need a fence, and we gotta build like the person high cube fence to. Yep, we're separating the biomes. That'll keep those executor out.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll listen. Yeah. Speaking of listening, though, oh my god, Woody, the music, it's such a big surprise. It has all of the Pokemon Black and White music. And so when I first like played the DLC, the Wild Battle song made me sort of question what I was hearing. I'm like, am I going fucking crazy? Because I'm hearing the Wild Battle song from Pokemon Black and White, right? I'm not wholly 100% crazy, right? But I haven't played it since 2011, so like I don't really distinctly remember that well, right? And then the trainer theme hit, and I was like, holy shit! it's an arrangement of like the former trainer song from before. It was wildin'.
Those songs have lived rent-free in my head for a while because they're probably my favorite ones. So I'm like, I know what you guys are doing. I know what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like the main field theme didn't clue me in right away because it had been a while since I'd heard what that's referencing, which is apparently more than one tune even. But yeah, once the Wild Battle hit, it's like, oh yeah, oh we're back. And then the trainer theme, okay, yeah, this is. All the memories are flooding back at once. They did a great job sprucing those up for a new take on an old familiar.
They're good songs. They're generally good songs. So I was quite surprised. And speaking of more good songs, when you battle Kieran, oh my god, of course you're going to battle the Edgelord kid. I was joking that his battle song is like a Nihon Falcon or like an East B-side or something, because it like has like a sort of like riffage at the beginning and it has like this orchestral stuff in the middle. I'm like, okay, it's catchy, but I'm like, okay.
He's it's all his hurting inside.
The orchestra part represents his internal struggle, yes.
The drum has risen to a fever pitch.
And that's one way of doing it. No, it's a genuinely good song, but then again, like rival trainer songs in general in the series are pretty baller too, but this is particularly fun to me. And speaking of fun, I kind of chuckled how they just borrowed like the Jubilee Village song from like Pokemon Legends Arceus for the Blood Moon Ursaluda quest. They just straight up like ripped it off. Do you think that was kind of like funny?
That was fine. I mean, you already were borrowing what's-her-name's appearance. Like that whole thing was meant to, hey guys, remember Arceus, a game that runs a bit better than this? Remember how much fun we had? Remember how much fun we had just making a Pokedex?
Oh god. There's one more thing I gotta mention, and so we mentioned our favorite music artist Ed Sheeran last time, who does Celestial which plays during the credits of the original game, and so like I got hella bamboozled by these credits, like because the credits like has an arrangement with that song, but it's by Toby Fox of all people, and I'm like, wait a second, this is like the most blessed ass like confluence of factors ever. This is crazy, right?
Yeah, this would not have been on my bingo card a couple years back, but, you know, strange things do happen. It's those kind of times these days.
They still say Ed Sheeran has fallen down that chasm.
Yeah, it's like a chill, like acoustic version as well. It's just like, I mean, it's good. It's genuinely good. I just never would have expected the song to come back.
I guess it's just chill because Turtle. I don't know. Speaking of Turtle, what'd you guys do for teams now? Because you were very creative with your Teal Mask thing. I just kept doing more of the same. Like, yeah, I guess I'll play with Duraludon, get my Sky Arrow Bridge Beam guy going, and just keep doing what I'm doing. But did you guys keep going with your with your try too hard teams or what?
Try too hard. Yeah, my pro MLG strats. I wanted to pick Pokemon that were new, that were added to the DLC. But I stumbled a lot trying to figure out a theme. So I came up with the theme Rainbow Fairies and Their Friends. So I had like Flygon, Meowstic, Alcremie, Comfey, Bellossom, and Muck. It was like super random, but it was kind of based on visual appearance and to some degree like their types. And Flygon was kind of pushing it a little bit, but I just wanted to break the game early because Flygon's pretty strong. But so the one thing I thought that was really hysterical though was that they anticipate people will just take their old team and just curb stomp everybody, because when you fight Drayden, he's all like, you have to use all new Pokemon in the terrarium. So I was like, yes, to me I was like ready to go, but I think it bamboozled.
I tripped a bit on that one. That was fun trying to scoop a few of them together. I'm like, okay, I'm going to use my Bridge Beam guy and hang on a minute.
That was great. That was so much fun.
Although I gotta say, Rainbow Fairies and Friends sounds like a deck recipe I need to build in the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy. Like, I need to make the cards and then go up to the machine. Okay, you have the Rainbow Fairy and Friends deck.
Dude, I would love to see that deck. And the theming, it's way cooler than Embracer's like and Friends motif, right? We got the and Friends stuff on lock.
Yeah, better Rainbow Fairy and Friends than Lord of the Rings and Friends.
Oh, God.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was a fun twist to the usual challenges. Like, no, you really can't bring your main team in there. Drayton outright says, like, oh, it wouldn't be fun if you could just steamroll with all your super trained up team, right? And also, I found out the hard way, Terra raids don't count. So you can't just take something really powerful from that either. If you want that Metagross on your team, you better go into that cave and find that Metang and deal with that 3 catch rate. And good luck with that.
I didn't know that. What?
So what I did was I stayed in that, the polar biome and found a few faves there. I was like, okay, let's give Lapras a try. Let's give Reuniclus a try. And I made my Sky Arrow bridge of my own too. And that ended up being a fun little bunch to mess with. But special shout-outs go to Sodalite, my cute little dual-screen Meowstick who was pretty much MVP for all these double battles. It's just look, here we go, light screen, reflect. Yeah, you're not going to touch me. Go ahead and try. I dare you.
Yeah, that's a good strat. That's MLG. We got Pro Ampy right here. Getting no damage here. I was oops all like offense, I think, which kind of bit me a few times. But
yeah, I was mostly oops all offense too. I am not good at double battles, so every time I move my gas back the terrarium, I get there. I'm like, oh right, it's double battles down here. My teams are never built for that.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think a bit, which is nice. Yeah, another thing that was pretty nice to me was just the characters are cool, man. They're just a bunch of fun little dorks. There's a whole new Elite Four. Once again, the Elite Four, they're so distinct visually and personality-wise that I thought they were pretty memorable. After the DLC came out, I saw a lot of fan art of Lacey doing the X with her hands.
I like the oh my god, I forget his name. There is the gym challenge with the chef kid. I was like, I burger for passion. So you need me to trade for ingredients with other people? Got it. Okay, I could play trade games.
Yeah, Crispin. Yeah, I think it was
Crispin.
That took a
because
while.
He's
actually.
cooking. Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah, the ingredient stuff was pretty fun. He's like, of course he's hot blooded. Of course he is, right? That was good. Amorous made you do ghetto ass Star Fox.
Oh, you know what I hated about that? How there's no inverted controls.
Yeah, it forces. That's right. Yeah, it forces up and down. Up is up. So who flies like that, man?
No.
Fellow inverted here, and yeah, it's took some getting used to. Oh, I hate it when they force that, but
that's not how we fly a dragon. Come on.
It's fraudulent flight is what it is.
No, I appreciated the effort they put into making just a nice little bunch of fun designs to play off each other throughout the little story beats. And yeah, it does feel like Lacey and Drayton got a little bit of a bigger piece of the action, but they all contribute to the fun. And the different little trials feel a little more involved than the standard ones we saw in the main game, too.
Yeah, the trials are nice. Regarding the characters, one more thing, though. Did we think that Kieran's redesign was maybe a bit too ham-fisted?
I lost Ogerpon to you. I am going to Hot Topic and getting a haircut, and you're not even going to recognize me by the time you get to the Blueberry Terrarium.
I think he's got like a tank top or something, if I remember correctly. I'm like, what are you doing, man? It's like, I'm a champion now. He gets a little too powerful, a little too quick. I'm like, I guess he was grinding, man. He was grinding, but well, it was weird.
That's the power of the villain arc, man.
Did you guys bring Ogerpon to? Did you guys bring Ogerpon to fighting him?
I did not.
He gets mad.
I did bring Ogerpon, and he is pissed. Like, I just swapped it in and thought, I'm going to have a little fun. You want to play Ball Kid, then you remember this? And then they actually put something in for that, and oh boy, he's not happy about that.
It was so funny they accounted for that possibility. I missed that piece of dialogue because I was doing like MLG strats, but yeah, man, that's a cool. The attention to detail is fun.
It does feel a little like he kind of rocketed to the top in a hurry. Before he was just, here's my little buddy Sentret, and now suddenly he's rocking this super MLG, like real stats team going on. But I mean, that's how deep the fury runs, man.
I think people were joking about he was running like a starter with like items, and that's another thing. Like all these Elite Four fights, they can require you to think a little bit, man. They're kind of tough. But yeah, I think what was it? He had like an Incineroar with like an item on it that was pretty tough or something like that. He was like, wow, man.
Yeah, like Incineroar is like a superstar in doubles competitive, and they're like, okay, this is how we let you know we're serious about this here. And it was a pretty fun touch.
It was good. It was really, really good. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know how he got so tough so quick? He was pretending to be one of us, and he blew through the game in a week. No, it was probably all the BBQs, because I don't know how else you would get all that stuff that quick.
But what does BBQ stand for?
Yeah, what did BBQ stand for? Something like Blueberry Quests or something like that?
Barbecue Quest, clearly.
Yeah,
Clearly.
The extra B is for bring your own barbecue quests.
Right? I'd like to call them fake Nook Mile goals, because they're like, this made you do like...
Run 500 meters. Run 500 meters again.
It's like, yeah, I thought the nice little bite-sized rewards. One of them was like really funny. So like you could do multiplayer. So like if you do a multiplayer, you get to share progress amongst the group and stuff like that. But sometimes they ask you to find ditto blocks, and those ditto blocks are like impossible to find amongst like the other blocks. It takes like forever, man. They're so disguised.
I have only been playing by myself. You're going to need to tell me what a ditto block is.
Yeah, so it's one of the other bright neon, like bright ass blocks, but it has like a ditto face on it. So you have to like stare at each one of these blocks and like try to find the imposters. But there's so many of them because they litter like the everything.
So you're all just hugging the walls. They're way too bright and blurry, and you're at the same time, and you're looking for a ditto face.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. It's just like, okay, it's a slightly different shade of purple here. And if you're not looking at the side that's got the face, you could easily just walk by it. But you really got to scour things. It's a group effort.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I can see why they don't filter those to us single player types, because that sounds awful.
Take forever. But yeah, it was a cool way of doing of pooling together people's resources. There was one quest where they play a sound, or for other players they might show like a different type of hint, so you can like let your friends know like, oh, I heard this, so it must be this or something like that. I don't have all the Pokemon cries like memorized, so like other hints were like easier. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the nice thing is they really do encourage you to team up with your friends, because if you are all playing together, everyone gets credit for every task that every individual person does. So you can just fly through all the point requirements to get stuff if you work together.
You can,
and then occasionally you do have these big super tasks that can be a little more involved. Anything involving hatching eggs can be a little bit of a pain.
Oh god,
and they
forgot.
They also have the 4-star sandwiches, which you can't get those on your own. You actually need to make one of those giant group sandwiches to even have a shot at that. So some of them get more involved.
You're coasting with Fine Time.
But speaking of the BBQs, so it's this whole flesh out system. When you do get the points from doing these quests, you get to unlock like visual customization and functionality options in the League Club room, because of course it's gotta be all school themed or whatever. And my favorite feature was upgrading this item printer, which like I just colloquially call like the Pokeball gotcha.
That's very much what it is.
Yeah. You get super busted items from it, but I like the rainbow Pokeball pole. And so on stream, I got this rainbow glowing Poke thingamabobber. And I said, oh, it's going to be like a Safari and a Love Ball. And it happened. It was literally a Safari and a Love Ball. These are hella hard to get in like the regular mainline like game from like you have to like keep resetting for the auction, hope it appears. This I just got 2 balls willy-nilly. And I'm like, Safari and Love, that's what I said, right? I was like, it's crazy. I popped off, man.
And like if you played Isle of Armor back in the Sword and Shield days, there was a little system you could get Pokeballs from that, but like no, throw that in the trash. This thing is so much easier and so much more busted, and you're going to get a lot of other cool things. Once it gets fully upgraded, because you got to do it in stages and do it a bunch of times, it gets the cost down, but then you can get that, Pokeball Lotto thing. I just straight up got a Master Ball one time. So
what?
You can just get some wild things from it.
What? You can get that? I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, okay, but unlike the Sword and Shield one, this one doesn't look like a Cramorant, so this could shove. No, I'm just kidding.
That was cute.
Yeah, what am I saying? Total downgrade.
Oh my god. Did we have any other favorite parts of this room? Because there's a lot.
I kept trying to, because I was playing by myself and not scoring too much points. I'm like, I guess after getting the item printer beefed up all the way, I'll make sure all the starters appear everywhere because I guess I better. But was there more perks for you guys playing together that you got to take advantage of, or no?
It was mostly just it was easier to unlock some of the other things because unlocking the Pokemon alone takes a long time. They don't come cheap. But some of the room redesigns were a nice touch. They've got different Pokemon in there depending on what theme you've got. And they've even got a few other fun little nods here. The futuristic one has this whole, oh, hey, it's Mecha Tyranitar. Remember Pokestar Studios? Well, it's back here. And they've even got a few other music options that you can play in there. They've even brought back the different throwing styles back from the Sun and Moon days. So there's a fun little bunch of customization things depending on what you feel like doing.
Now that you bring it up, I think I did spend just enough time to give myself the left-handed throwing style because I had to.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Is this like a ninja style? I think there's like some really wacky ones in there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I actually got that one. It was just fun. You just sort of fan it off of your palm like that. It's pretty cool.
So I guess one of the other bigger things that I guess it's not part of the story directly, but new Paradox Pokemon, more specifically based on legendary trios. They started doling them out to us when the game first came out, and a Pokemon Presents like, oh, here's Walking Wake and Iron Leaves. Good luck, you guys.
You gotta do raids for those.
You guys aren't going to follow up on that? No, maybe later. Good luck. And then we got them, and then the DLC came out and here's the rest.
Have fun across versions.
Yeah, so they have funky names: Gouging Fire, Raging Bolt, Iron Boulder, and Iron Crown. So I think
good luck with that one, Andre.
Yeah, the Iron names are just so we. I think sticking Iron X something is just kind of I don't know, man. Something about that naming scheme still doesn't jive right with me. But more importantly, do we actually like these designs? Because I think Scarlet got the longer end of the stick. I actually like Crazy Giraffe Raikou, but the Iron ones, they kind of just have the same silhouette, but they're metallic, right? So I don't really know.
Even though I like Gen 5's Musketeers better, I think you guys got kind of screwed with the rest of the Iron Trio there.
Yeah,
especially since they didn't have a cyborg. Oh my God, Keldeo to go with it.
Cyborg Keldeo, that'd be amazing.
That would have probably worked out pretty nicely. But yeah, I just haven't really felt these redesigns in general. I do actually like Walking Wake a fair bit, but most of the others I'm could take or leave. And yeah, just the Iron ones really don't feel like they stand out enough compared to the original. It's a little bit too much of the same thing, whereas they get more creative with the Scarlet past Pokemon.
Yeah, they actually changed up the design. They actually changed up the shapes, man. I don't know. But the one thing I thought that was kind of funny though is that since Iron Leaves and Walking Wake are technically they're raid event exclusive, you don't actually need them to complete the Blueberry Pokédex. They just lump them onto the end of it because it's oh, by the way, they can't get into the middle of it to mess with people's completionism. So they just threw them on. And it's but they're part of the whole thing. I don't know. It's weird, but I guess they had to get people to connect online. I guess.
So guys, remember Meloetta from because more Unova teases. How do we get this thing?
Funny you should ask, because it's a little more involved than you might think.
Okay, other than buying the plush from the store, Vin.
I have a literal Meloetta plush because I'm a dork. You have to talk to Mew under the truck, because this method is as obscure as that. There's a method so hidden that I can't imagine that many people did it on their own. But I guess we should just read this off Bulbapedia, because that's what people do. But basically, Meloetta, you can find them east of the coastal outdoor classroom where a small cyclone of leaves can be found. If the player spins around clockwise in the center of the leaves for at least 10 seconds, activates their camera immediately afterwards, then applies the sepia filter, Meloetta will appear and start singing Relic Song. And then it can be interacted with and you can catch them. It's wait, what? It's such a weird, sequence of events. It's so specific because there are NPCs that mention leaves, but the sepia tone, you have to know their backstory from Pokemon Black and White to have a chance, because it's a sepia tone cutscene. I didn't think about that, and I got a plush right here.
This is Pokemon developers who heard all of us talking on the playground, or Pokemon developers that were us talking on the playground, and they just had to work this in now that they were in the position that they could do so. You think it was dumb that you were gonna skip portions of the game to try and find Mew under a truck, huh? We can out stupid this.
Oh my god, they did. They so did.
I mean, that's about all I can think of here. They're just bringing back those schoolyard level rumors, but I never heard anything that was that off the wall back in those days. I mean, all I can think of is, we've got the internet now. The internet tells all. Players will find a way, TM, but these are really darn obscure.
Yeah, it's great because you can actually get Keldale and Crown Tundra if you do some footstep shenanigans or something or other. But this, you have to be big brain, man, or galaxy brain to have a chance. And even then, good luck to you. There's no way in the world I would have known about this otherwise. There's just no way.
I'm sure this started off the boring way and someone found it in the code, right? Because there's no way. So. Yeah. There is no way someone found a leaf in the wind, thought to spin around and then take a picture with the sepia tone. There is no way.
I don't believe so. I think it actually started from looking into the data. I believe that's what happened, but then they had to kind of reverse engineer. I believe that's what happened, but
no, I mean I'm telling you that has to be what happened, because if you tell me, oh, I found that on my own, I'm calling you out on your bullshit. There is no way.
There's no way. And the funny thing is that I actually kept finding the wrong patch of leaves, and I spun the wrong way too. So you have to spin a very specific way, or it just doesn't work. Yeah.
And spinning the right way is definitely more playground bullshit, because if you came up with something like that and you went back to your friend and said it didn't work, oh, did you spin counterclockwise? Oh, I spun clockwise. Better go try again when you get home.
Right.
Your switch isn't here. Yeah, you'll just have to try when you get home, and we can't. Oh, that's too bad, guy.
Tell me about it. Yeah. Oh my god.
Trust me, seriously.
I love to see things get to this point, though. It's that's wild, and I can't imagine what they'll come up with next. Volcanion is going to have some underground shenanigans and Pokemon Z-A or whatever. It's gonna be crazy, dude.
No. So you need this full team of these exact 6 Pokemon, and then you gotta take a taxi ride in Lumio City, and then you've got to give this specific amount of a tip, and just 20 more steps like that. Just you wait. We'll see.
I thought we were towing the line when the Ruby Sapphire manual came with the Braille to English translation guide, and we had to use that.
They'll come back with the unknown Regis. Oh my god! Oh, that's amazing. I forgot about that manual part. That's really funny. You remember things that I forgot about? So you remember the part last time during the post game show where I said I didn't really feel like taking classes? Well, I kind of got fucked because you have to actually do this stuff to get another post DLC thing. So my friend offhandedly brought up like an auction that I didn't know about. I was like, what are you talking about, man? So like I tried to do this, the plotline just wasn't popping up. I didn't have access to it. So I looked it up, and like you have to actually pass a final exam in the base game. And I was like, oh shit.
And I can't really blame you either. Like, those things take some time to go through, and I'm sure some people were like, yeah, I'm not going to school. I'm going to go and catch Pokemon and have a good time.
Yeah, if you do that though, you'll never see this cutscene and then you won't get this badass unlock. But it's really funny because like you get to help the former delinquents return to school, and like Mela, who normally has like this sort of a crazy fiery like metal motif, she just doesn't like have any makeup and she looks like a completely different person. I'm like, wait, what? Like,
this is where I'm going to admit I did go to school and take the finals just because.
Yeah,
and I didn't do this auction house thing until the other night, because it didn't occur to me. So,
I don't think they tell you to do it. Yeah, I think it's just kind of there.
Yeah, you have to go to the counter when the exclamation points pop up after you do all the other stuff.
You have to explore, but
you have to play the game. Oh man, not playing a game and finding things out on your not that.
Happens.
I'm famous for hating doing things on my own.
Yeah, like you get a little thing saying, "Oh, they're in the main hall," but I got thrown for a loop by their non-Team Star appearances either, so I didn't even recognize them until, I'm just going to go start talking to everybody, and what do you know, there they are. But the whole thing was a fun, whimsical way to wrap up a few of the loose ends for all the Team Star crew we came to know and love and beat into the ground in the course of the main game.
It was fun dialogue. It was fun. They're a bunch of nerds, and they get all uppity about learning and stuff like that. It's like, this tutor guy, I don't want to learn from this guy or something. So they get all like uppity and stuff because they're prideful members of Team Star or whatever. But yeah, if you do all this rigmarole, you get this fancy auction house, right? I think from Atticus, like the ninja-like dude. He like sells these things that have insane throwbacks to other games. So you can get like replica Team Aqua and Magma gear, taking notes from like Ruby Sapphire. You get a cyber visor, just straight up, just like cyber visor over your eyes. Did you guys have any other favorites from this, or?
Yeah, I've ended up rocking the replica dragon gloves because it's actually this deep cut to one of the random champion opponents, I think Ryuji, who you could fight in Sun and Moon.
Right. Yeah.
Because I did have that fight back when I played that, and I was like, who the heck is this guy? It just kind of comes out of nowhere, but hey, he's got some cool gloves. I'll gladly wear those. And it gives a nice little variety.
How did Atticus get these? Or I guess maybe he just drew inspiration, right? He didn't necessarily steal any clothes.
They're careful to say they're replicas, I guess. You know, he totally didn't steal the blueprints and all that other stuff.
The blueprints! So like this DLC is full of crazy shenanigans, but there's one more thing that I like to colloquially refer to as the fake ass your name sequence, which I didn't know about till again I looked it up. But so once you beat Indigo Disk, you can go back to the frame rate tanking Crystal Pool in Teal Mask, right? So once you do, the shenanigans that happen, this mist appears everywhere. This crazy fog appears, and like the respective professor that shows up to, I think, Turo for Violet and Sada for Scarlet. They show up. They're supposed to be dead, but they show up. I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? They're like a ghost version from like a parallel dimension. They talk to you. And I'm like, what? So I can't imagine like they didn't take notes from your name because that has like similar sorts of wacky, like metaphysical shenanigans. But so like they show up, they talk to you, and like, you get like they're forced to like give them like a key item, the book or like the Violet or Scarlet book, right? And then so like I was like, wait, are we causing like a time paradox by giving them an object from?
To me, this just brought up the same not complaint, but note I made from our other show where I really think they wrote this with Toro and then shoehorned it in for Sato later because Sato is more about the dinosaurs. Why would she be appearing in a sudden time loop for no apparent reason, as opposed to the more technologically advanced Toro?
Because you got cooler Pokemon, don't worry about
it. She's giving me a look when I'm asking her, like, what about your family? Yes, I have a son. And I swear to God, if he's home making sandwiches by himself, I'm going to be very disappointed in him.
Right? Oh my God, that was funny. Oh God.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild sequence. It's like, oh, this is how we get our stable time loop action going on here. So that's where they got the book from. It's kind of a fun way to tie up that loose end, but it is a little bit of a wild sequence to get, just that you could easily miss if you don't think to go back there either.
Yeah, because why would you ever go back to the previous DLC's area? There's no actual like intrinsic reason for it, but the reason for it that's actually really cool is that, to my recollection, this actually might be one of the, well, I guess technically Sword and Shield did it first, but this changes the title screen. Actually, I thought that was like super cool. It's like, so instantly, like if you're looking at somebody like playing the game, you'll know if they hit the sequence or not, because like the title screen becomes this sort of like really chill like sunset thing instead. I'm like, wait a second, like that's like crazy cool.
Although it doesn't really do anything else, right? Because I even took it hard and he's like, wow, nice book you got there. You get that from the library or something?
Yeah, it's like one dialogue line, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess they realized that really wasn't going to be too much of a real ending for folks, so they went in and did Mochi Mayhem, or, oh fuck, we didn't write a real ending for this thing.
Oh god, yeah. People had expectations on the interwebs. I never expected anything out of this, but people got all uppity, man. Oh, that was weird.
I just thought it was weird because all Pokemon Twitter accounts were like, man, Pecha Berries are great. Aren't Pecha Berries amazing? Like, we're talking about the same Pecha Berries?
You know,
yeah, you betcha. We're all going to send you one, and it's going to appear in your mailbox. Go get it.
Yeah, they made such a big deal. It's like, connect online to get this freaking mythical berry. It's like, what? It's just a berry. Like, why are you making me go online for this? It's so weird.
It comes in a box.
Sure, yeah. Just like,
I mean, it was a way to make all of the characters appear, because as we said earlier, we don't bring our main game friends to the DLC land, so it becomes a wacky crossover adventure where it becomes Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but fun for the whole family.
I can't. Who wrote this? It's like this premise for Pokemon. Like, what's going on here, man?
Poisoned Puppeteer is a fun ability. It's just too bad that only Pecharunt can use it.
Yeah, it's like when you poison them, you also confuse them. It's kind of busted, but I would presume this is probably banned from like most like legal rules or like whatever. But like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, to me, ultimately, this is just an overglorified way to introduce Pecharunt. It's not much of a story. It really isn't. Like, I appreciate the effort to add on like a third part to this sort of DLC thing, Mabobber, but like, it just seemed like a very convenient excuse to get people to log online to get your mythical Pecha Berry. Like, I didn't really think it was that memorable outside of like funsy shenanigans.
But we got to watch everyone do the chicken dance, sort of.
That's true. That is true.
Oh, yeah, they had a little fun with that Mochi dance with everybody, but they just went short and silly. It was nice to, okay, here's your in-game friends from way long ago. So you get a nice little finale that brings them all back for, one last little bring it in, guys, kind of moment. But yeah, it was just a fun little conclusion to things. Nothing too special, but yeah, it's better if you don't go in with just huge expectations. Like, this is going to be a real game changer.
Well, Pokemon players and expectations, they expect the sky from this series, dude. But I think for adding like a third part, it was fine. And also, like, incidentally enough, it also kind of like ties together like the rest of the lore of Teal Mask, because there was a loyal 3 trio in there, and this is their master. And by the way, oops, all poison everywhere. So like thematically, it was cool.
Now dance.
Now dance.
Yeah, I guess we could start winding this down a little bit. It's been a year, and we've been having fun with this. I guess overall, we had a better time with this than Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, right?
I would say so, but as a bit of a funky generalization, like, I would say Isle of Armor's like location looked interesting, but maybe Crown Tundra's legendaries were more like whimsical and fun. But this sort of like is thrown on its head in a manner of speaking, right? So I would almost say like Teal Mask is more interesting legendaries, but maybe like Indigo Disk's like locale is more memorable, because I mean that terrarium is wild, man. and Ogerpon's like super, super fun. But when they introduced Terrapagos at the end of Indigo Disk, like as much as I love rainbows and turtles and all, like they appear at the end and they don't really get to do that much. Like they get to bust open a Master Ball, that's pretty dope, but like as an actual like plot device-esque kind of thing, like they don't really do anything.
Kieran just tries too hard to be a real boy. No, I'm the protagonist.
It's great. Oh, that was fun.
It made for some good moments for sure. It did feel like Indigo Disk was more involved in the Teal Mask with everything it brought to the table. Just not like, hey, here's even more new returning Pokemon and characters, but just all of the different unlockables. You just get a treasure trove of easy access items. But and you get a nice little bit of story bit here and there too. But Terrapagos did kind of feel like a letdown after there's all this build up in the early ads for the DLC before we even had a name for this. And especially after how memorable Ogerpon's whole part of the story was. They do have a few neat cutscenes and moments there, but it felt like Ogerpon was an actual character that was part of the story, whereas Terrapagos is more of like a force of nature rather than just a fun, character addition to things.
Yeah,
especially after in the older DLC, you had Cubfu and Urshifu had a little bit more going on here and there, and Calyrex had a few fun moments too. And they were present throughout almost the entire DLC, not just save for the very tip end of it.
But yeah, in general, like mechanically, I'd say like them BBQs and stuff, like I think that stands out more in my head in general. As much as I love Dynamax adventures from like Crown Tundra and stuff like that, I think like just the general flow of these particular DLC packs is like more enthralling than before, I think. Personally, anyway.
So we would recommend these overall, right? Because I personally would, because, even though the story felt a little half-baked, especially with Kieran's sudden villain arc, I feel like they did try to give you a story as opposed to whatever was going on in Sword and Shield. Remember when Calyrex was basically doing Weekend at Bernie's with your mentor and the other one, like, you need to go find my ghost horse.
The ghost
what
horse.
Was that noise?
It's like it's like, I heard like so and so like kind of noise, and then that changes the horse. I'm like, wait, what? It's so random.
I mean, following up the "we have no need for professors anymore" storyline was always going to be a little flat, but this was fine.
Yeah, if you did enjoy all the story stuff there's going to be more to enjoy here and there with the plot sort of spanning across both things rather than being two separate stories like before. And one other thing that was pretty nice was this is the furthest Game Freak's pushed to the competitive side too, because some of those double matches get really intense and you actually need to have prep. They're like, okay, we're actually using legit competitive movesets. Everyone's got held items. And just starting with Kieran at the very end of Teal Mask, I mean, things just kind of expand from there. And it's a Pokemon game. It's not going to be super duper challenging, but they definitely make you think a little bit more and think like, okay, I got to actually change things around here for what we're doing. So it's nice to see that.
It was really, really cool. And again, I really liked how it sort of like made you experiment with like moves with like teams and the like. And in general speaking, I would say Indigo Disk is among my favorite Pokemon experiences. It's got some weirdos. It's got a pretty funky premise, and I think that's cool, man.
Speaking of actually trying different things, I got to talk about raid culture just a little bit, because I still can't get over how most of the fire raids were solved. Bring Darkspun, change the move set a little bit, and use Helping Hand on the beefier guys. Like, almost every time that worked. I kept thinking, no way it's going to work again, and it did.
Yeah, it's just essentially it's cool that they added starters inside of the DLC, because now you have an excuse to just spam raids for like each and every single starter, like for forevermore, like whatever, right? So like we just trolled Primarina, who spans like music song moves, because you could just use taunt and they can't sing at you anymore.
Isn't there an item that blocks out sound moves, or am I making that up?
I think there is. Yeah, I think so.
There's some Pokemon that get soundproof, so you can actually defend against that too.
That's right.
But then they got other ways they can mess you up, so it's better for everybody involved if you're just like, okay,
just use taunt.
Stop the music,
and then everyone could just get buffed. And speaking of getting buffed, so like our crowning moment was against Meganium, like the prior raid, where we had 2 Golden Go, like this Steel Ghost thing, and 2 Armor Rouge. So we burned them, and then someone got a critical hit with Hex, which does more damage if they're status afflicted. So it just one-shot them. It's just like poof, and I was like, oh my god, that was like amazing. It's like moments like that are hype, man.
Yeah, you could build up some pretty interesting strategies and try to go for just the one-hit KO or anything like that. These are they're nice because they're fun events. They're just tough enough that they can be challenging. You can't just use whoever and expect to be fine. But they're not so overwhelming that it's just, okay, this is the one strategy. You cannot deviate from this. If everything goes wrong, then just forget it and give up. You've got more than one way you can tackle things. And it's super easy to raise up whatever counter you want to use because now you've got access to even more fancy pants items in the DLC. And it's easier than ever to get all just statted up and ready to roll.
Just cram more, sell those things you get from the Poke Gacha and cram those candies or buy like the EV boosting items and or whatever, right? So yeah.
Speaking of items we all got in the DLC, did we all just decide to wear the blueberry uniform here out? Because I feel like every time I do a raid, it's just blueberry uniform town the whole way through. I am definitely included in this, but it's very rare that I see anyone trying to wear anything else.
I don't think people I don't even like those like base like necktie costumes, man. I ran the tracksuit nowadays, but
yeah, I mean, we've got such limited options, sadly, with the main game. This is really one of the better choices you've got. So I switched into that, and I haven't looked back since.
All right, one more thing before I let you guys go back to your raids and highly populated areas and remote raid passes and whatever. Do we think this batch of DLC is going to ship what we think might be going on in the Pokémon Legends Z-A?
I mean, we could probably make a ham-fisted joke about how the game's gonna have more geometry than before, but maybe they'll really push like the Cybercube stuff. I mean, I don't know, but I get the sinking suspicion that since they're spending more time, there's no Pokemon game this year, right? So like, I get the sinking suspicion that they're probably going to try to push the fidelity level a little more because they've probably heard a gazillion complaints about how this game runs, right? So, like, I would imagine they're probably going to, like, shake things up and take a little bit of extra time. I mean, I would like to think so anyway.
It would make sense that they're going for kind of a fresh start here rather than trying to patch up things after the fact there. So if they spend a little more time and get something a little bit more fine-tuned, then that'll be good to see. And we'll see how much they keep up some of the new additions that came around this time around. As far as engaging with Pokemon, is it going to be similar to Arceus's whole gameplay mechanics, or are they going to split the middle? Are they going to bring some things back? We know they're going to have Mega Evolution, or they've strongly hinted at it. So
yeah, it's coming back.
All right, then just one more question before we wrap up for real. We've been making lots of crazy predictions on the main show, so we're as the PokéPals, I'm going to let us make one here too. Will Pokemon Legends Z-A get a simultaneous Switch Plus release? Yes, no.
Oh, that's the eternal question. Because they kept it open by saying Nintendo Switch systems, but people presume that was just like the Lite and the OLED and stuff. But I mean, that's why it's open enough, right? Yeah, I mean, it falls in lines, like, if the Switch successor comes out at the beginning of, if it's announced to be sometime in 2025, then presumably it'd be the perfect opportunity, right? Make that Lumio City, like, run nice, buttery smooth, right? I mean, it's possible.
I think the timing lines up. It would make sense for it, but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what kind of a performance difference we'll see, too.
Remember, if we're right, you can hire us all to be analysts, and if we're wrong, well, you could look at us all on our social accounts, or just the main one at Fine Time Podcasts on, Twitter, Blue Sky, or whatever else they invent by the time Legends Z-A comes out, or just in general. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to